let's change the conversation here a little bit because we do have to talk about free agents here these next couple weeks. I'm excited for it. Nick's all over this, so we thought it'd be a good idea to have Nick share his top 5 free agent targets as it stands right now. Again, a couple dates you should know. Tomorrow is the franchise tag deadline, so we will know by 3 o'clock tomorrow whether or not Jalen Johnson has been tagged or if they're able to work out a long-term agreement. The next big date is Monday. Monday at 11 a.m. Central Time is when agents are allowed to officially negotiate with teams, and that's typically when you start seeing these reported deals come in that agents and teams have agreed to deals that cannot be made official until next Wednesday at 3 o'clock. But we will be here for all of that. A lot of the conversation this week, as much as the draft will still dominate some things, will be about free agency. So we'll kind of move into that direction right now. Nicholas Moreano's top 5 free agent targets. Nick, I think we're going, 5-1 here? Is that the plan?
5-1. Right. We're going to start with a wide receiver, guys, for our free agency. And we're going to start with Curtis Samuel here from Washington, a guy that would, help out a guy like Caleb Williams, 62 receptions last season, 91 targets, 613 yards, 4 touchdowns. On those targets, he only had 4 drops. So that's somebody that's reliable. And I think when you're looking at what the Bears need at the wide receiver position, I think they just need guys that are going to be reliable other than DJ Moore. And he has some versatility for him as well. He had 302 snaps in the slot, 114 out wide. And when you look at his career, 1,362 snaps in the slot, 1,176 out wide. So you can place him throughout the offense. When I was looking at the wide receiver free agency class, I didn't like a lot of the top-end guys. You want to pay a guy like Calvin Ridley, overpay him. Mike Evans just re-signed in Tampa Bay. So I'm going a lower-tier free agent that I think would fit what Shane Waldron wants to do in this offense. He is going into his 8th season, and PFF has him projected out on a 2-year, $9 million average. But when I just look at that wide receiver room, you guys, I just think the Bears need reliability, people that can actually run routes. He to me, reminds me of the wide receiver version of Velus Jones Jr., which is ironic because Velus Jones is supposed to be a wide receiver. So Curtis Samuel fits that role for me right here.
So in our fantasy league with my buddies, Curtis Samuel's kind of been a running joke for being kind of the disappointing guy in the league every year. But that doesn't mean he's a bad. This is an example of where a lot of times I actually defend fantasy football because it's the numbers, the production is what matters. And so if you're being productive, you're going to be a good fantasy player. But Curtis Samuel has been one of these kind of next tier guys that you don't necessarily want on your roster, but yet numbers are relatively consistent. I mean, he has been at least a 600-yard receiver, as high as 851, going back to 2019 with the one exception of 2021 when he was hurt. So, this would be a solid, probably bargain buy type receiver that you probably want your number 3.
Yep. If
you end up drafting somebody high as well.
2 things I like about Curtis. Number 1, played with DJ. So there's a little DJ Moore connection. Maybe DJ's advocating for him. I'll go 3 things. The price point, depth piece. Let's go there. Most importantly, he shares the same birthday as me.
Wow.
Got to bring him in.
Today's all about the birthdays.
That's right.
Really
I like it. Yeah. I like it. All right. How about number 4 on your list?
Yeah, number 4, we're going to go to the defensive side. And I like, out of Buffalo, A.J. Epenesa. It's not just because he was a former Iowa Hawkeye, but the 6'6", 260-pound defensive end. Had 20 total tackles last year. Tied his career high last year also with 6.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 2 interceptions, and 8 passes defended. So he's a guy that I see more as a rotational piece. He's not the premium edge rusher that you want opposite of Montez Sweat, but somebody that with this Bears defense, you get those cycles of defensive linemen coming in. And now he could be a good complement to that. And even if he doesn't win his one-on-one pass rush, it's not like he can't impact a play. He does know how to time up passes, get up in the air, deflect passes in the air. And having that connection, too, with Eric Washington, being that he was a defensive line coach last year, with also being the assistant head coach. If he likes A.J. Epenesa, he would obviously give Ryan Poles, this Bears team, the inside information on what he can bring to a football team.
Yeah, this is another one I like. I think the connection with Eric Washington is important to watch. Sometimes that means they don't like him, and so
true, yeah.
But a lot of times, a lot of the free agents you see a team sign, it's because the coaching connections from the past. We saw it a lot the last couple of years with Luke Getsy and guys like Lucas Patrick and Robert Tonyan that they signed. So something to keep in mind there. I think this is somebody that would be right up the alley of what Matt Eberflus wants at the position, length. He's got long arms. And honestly, I think just being the number 2 opposite of Montez Sweat, it could be a really good fit. And again, I don't think we're talking about a guy that's top of the market either, kind of right in that Ryan Poles sweet spot.
I mean, Nick's doing a great job spending the Bears' money conservatively. What he did not say there, of course, why he's on this list is that he went to the same college as Nick did, and that team, of course, beating Northwestern in hoops over the weekend. By the way,
how'd you let that happen?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was horrible. Maybe because the Cats were missing 3 starters and Iowa played out of their mind. But back to AJ. His dad. His nickname was Nick, and I know you do because you did extensive work on this. His dad's nickname was Epi.
Ooh.
And Epi walked on at Iowa as well. But no, I hope the Bears do address the defensive line both in the draft and in free agency. Let's get some more options in here.
That'd be a good way to approach it. Let's go to number 3 now for me, and we're sticking with the trenches, but upgrading the offensive line. Aaron Brewer, the center from Tennessee, played 1,050 snaps, 5 penalties. And I was actually just watching some of his tape this morning, you guys, against Indianapolis. And you see a guy that plays with aggression, gets his second level, plays fast, stays on his blocks, on
Feisty.
combo blocks.
Yep.
He's a guy that not only makes sure his guy is secure, but he has his head on a swivel to see if anyone's coming backside. So I just think when you're thinking of what can fit in this wide zone scheme that the Bears like to run, Aaron Brewer is a guy that I think would fit really well. He's a little bit undersized, and last year was his really first year playing center, but there's a lot to like in that 1 year. So if you're thinking about guys that can continue to improve and excel at this position, I really like what Aaron Brewer can offer, and I don't think it's going to cost you, top of the market. He is one of the younger guys, but I like what he can add to this Bears offensive line.
Well, they went to Tennessee last year to get Nate Davis. Wait, is this where Haas came from?
Yep, this is exactly where Haas came from.
Our guy Haas, the new assistant O-line coach.
Jason Hautailing.
Yeah. He came from
Connections.
Tennessee. So there you go.
Look, everybody you're naming so far too, they're all in their mid to late 20s. This
Not top of market.
not top of market. This guy's 26. You mentioned his nastiness, which I enjoy. I love stories like this. I mean, Aaron Brewer's undrafted because of his size mostly. So and here he's proven that he can do it. The Bears obviously need help at center. Makes sense. Keep going. Like what you're doing here, Nick. Borderline love it.
Yeah, let's go to number 2 now. Again, sticking with the trenches, but going to the defensive side. Jonathan Grenard from Houston, the 26-year-old defensive end. He finished with 15 games played, 52 total tackles, 12.5 sacks. And I think he just does a really good job of forcing tackles to miss with their hand strikes and then quickly getting into the backfield. He's known for his spin move, but he has a bull rush. And I just think when you look at how quickly he gets off the ball, that's where he wins. And he's a guy that played really well against the run. PFF had him with a 9.3% run stop rate, which was 8th among qualifying defenders. So he could stop the run. We know that's an emphasis for this Bears defensive line. They got to be able to do that. But he also has that pass rush production as well. And this would definitely be somebody you look at opposite of Montez Sweat. He can get after the quarterback too, and obviously being younger. I remember being at the Combine interviewing him at his podium, just wanting the Bears to get him when they had Khalil Mack back in the day. If the Bears have an opportunity to add him now with Montez Sweat, I think now you're getting, multiple threats, multiple multipliers on this defensive line.
You're getting a little dreamy on this one because the Texans want him back, and I would think he'll end up there. But I listen, dream big. Number 2, why not?
Big.
It's kind of a one-year wonder, Jonathan Grenard, which is one thing. So you have to watch that tape very, very closely. But, this one I wonder where the Bears value him and if there's another team that, might end up outbidding. Maybe it's the Texans.
Or even Houston, yeah.
Yeah, if he's even available. Remember, the guys will re-sign this week. Mike Evans re-signed this morning in Tampa. So some of these guys are going to come off the market.
$35 million guaranteed for Mike Evans.
Got that money. All right,
I mean, he
guys.
earned it. I'm not saying that he didn't, but it was a lot of dough for an aging dude who had a great season. So maybe he's not aging. I take that back minorly. At some point, he's going to fall off the cliff.
At some point. Maybe not yet. But, Mark, you said dreaming big. This is my dreaming big number one guy that I think if the Bears can land him, they'd be in a way better position if they do. Christian Wilkins from Miami. This is a guy who's an absolute stud in the interior. He did play in a different system with Vic Fangio, but I could see him being a fit at that 3-tech that the Bears desperately still need. Played in all 17 games, 65 total tackles, 9 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 fumble recoveries, 2 passes defended. He set a career high in pass rush win rate, pressure rate, the sacks, quarterback hits, and pressures. And I just think he would be such a good fit, not only for what he can do on the football field, but I don't know if you guys have watched his mic'd up segments. This guy is all energy all the time, and he is a hustle player. He called himself a 3-level defensive tackle because he makes plays behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, and downfield. So if you're looking at guys that will fit the scheme, fit the system, the hits principles, I mean, Christian Wilkins would absolutely do that. And he would be that dominant 3-tech that, the Bears, Justin Jones played well, but he's not that level of player. Christian definitely would fit that. Now, let's see what the Dolphins, it doesn't seem like they're going to tag him, but if he's able to get on the free agent market and the Bears are really looking to upgrade the interior defensive line, I really like Christian Wilkins and what he could do.
Chat right there. I cannot agree with him more. The Jammer J.
That's a good
Wilkins
comparison.
reminds me of Akeem Hicks. I'm guessing that guy, Jammer J, I'm guessing you watched Hard Knocks, because if you watched Hard Knocks this season, I was getting that vibe watching the features they had on Christian Wilkins. It was one of the more fun parts of the season this year. He's just really entertaining. Almost like borderline silly during games. Yeah. One of the funniest features, his teammate, Zach Sealer, could not be more opposite than Christian Wilkins. Like kind of like a white Southern.
That's right.
Like
yes.
burly, lives in a RV, like listens to country music. Like they could not be more opposite people, and they are the best. They have I mean this exact word. They have the cutest friendship I've ever seen between two NFL teammates, and they highlighted it on Hard Knocks. And it was so fun to watch these two guys get along. So I don't know how you come away from that show not loving Christian Wilkins. His tape's good enough. He seems like a great teammate. I'm shocked the Dolphins are not franchise tagging him, but if he hits the open market, this is one of the guys I actually would go all in to get. He's still 28 years old, former first-round talent, very, very good. And I think, yes, there's probably some questions about how he fits into the scheme. Remember, it was more Vic Fangio defense last year, but I think he's one of those guys that transcends schemes, that just is a good football player.
We all silly like the mayor.